So recently, Rachel Reeves unveiled the budget to the British public and confirmed that there was a £26 billion deficit in the British economy that somehow we would need to make up over the next few years, whether that's paying more taxes, increasing the age of retirement, or freezing the tax-free income that British people get. Essentially, the British government told us that we are in a very bad situation and we need to make up for it. Well, of course, the other day, the OBR published their final report on the budget and it actually confirmed that we're £4 billion in the positive. This 26 billion black hole does not exist. Now, recently, over the past couple of days, Keir Starmer has actually doubled down on that original 26 billion and confirmed that no mistakes were made and the British public were not misled, yet refused to answer any questions about the 4 billion positive that the OBR published. Well, in the same report that the OBR published, which by the way, the OBR is the Office for Budget Responsibility, they deal with everything to do with the finances of the UK, they managed to actually put a price tag on digital ID. Now, as I'm sure you know, digital ID is coming to the UK and British citizens will be required to have a digital ID on their phone to access many public services. They're saying it's not mandatory, but you still need it to get a job, so it's mandatory. Now, we've had the figures for how much digital ID will cost the economy. UK digital plan gets a price tag at last, £1.8 billion. The OBR says the scheme will cost £600 million a year with no identified savings. The UK government has finally put a £1.8 billion price tag on the digital ID plans, days after the minister responsible refused to name a figure. Last week, Ian Murray defended the government's decision not to publish the budgeted cost of its proposal to build digital IDs for every citizen. He told MPs that the cost would be determined by what the system looks like, and that can only really be measured after the consultation has been closed and analysed. Now, for the past month or two, we were in the consultation period. This is basically where the British government reached out to many different companies to get ideas on how much it would cost to build this infrastructure. And yes, some of this infrastructure was outsourced from outside the UK. On Wednesday, the Office for Budget Responsibility published its economic and fiscal outlook for the UK government. In the document, it noted that the summer spending review had seen departmental spending revised up by an average of around £6 billion per year across the period 26 to 27 and 29 to 2030, including capital investment, before accounting for policy to reflect risks and pressures, most notably on the NHS, asylum and the cost of digital ID cards, for which no specific funding has been identified. It later said there would be unfunded costs of digital ID cards at a provisional annual cost of £0.6 billion over the spending review period. The OBR said the money for the digital ID scheme would come from existing departmental expenditure limits, split across capital spending and resources. The implementation of digital ID cards is provisionally forecast to cost £1.8 billion in total over the next 3 years, split across £0.5 billion RDEL and £1.3 billion CDEL. The government has announced its intention to meet the costs of this through existing DEL budgets. However, no specific savings have yet been identified, it said. So what does this all mean? Well, effectively, at the moment, the UK government budget for certain things to take place in the UK, whether that's certain technology programs, certain security programs, and they're saying that rather than basically charge the taxpayer more, this money is going to come from those existing projects. But they haven't yet been able to identify which departments or which projects they'll be able to cut back on to raise the money to fund digital identification. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to get into a rant. And before I do that, just very quickly, if you're looking for a fantastic VPN, check out private internet access at the link down below. They don't track what you do online, they don't keep any logs, and it helps you stay safe and secure when using things like public Wi-Fi, or enables you to access content that's only available in other countries. Use my link down below, you get 4 months free and 86% off. Or you can use the QR code here. Now, I wanted to get that out of the way quickly because we're about to go into a very, very hefty rant. The petition against digital identification is one of the most signed petitions in British history. It is the fastest growing petition that we've had done through the government portal on the gov.uk petition site, and the outrage by digital identification has been basically unprecedented. Nothing has even come close to it. It's fair to say that at the very minimum, the government should stop it in its tracks and investigate further, and maybe do some more research by talking to British citizens about whether they really want digital identification. In reality, what's happened instead is Keir Starmer has doubled down by saying how we as a society need digital identification, and has even gone on to lie and say that the British public want digital identification when all evidence points to the contrary. All of this taking place meanwhile, the British government are lying but screaming and shouting about how basically there's a £26 billion hole in the British economy that they have to fill. They're saying that they can save the $2 billion that digital ID would cost in other departments, but why not just save the $2 billion that digital ID would cost in those departments and not implement digital ID and then reduce that supposed £26 billion deficit in the British economy? It comes down to the core fundamentals of this. The people do not want digital identification. It is dystopian, it's absolutely insane, and in my last video, we actually covered over the past year how the UK has become very similar to China. 4 pieces of legislation that are very, very much aligning with the Communist Party of China. You can see that all in the last video. My point in all of this is Keir Starmer is pretending public-facingly that no one has a problem with digital identification, even though it's one of the most disputed pieces of legislation that have been announced in my lifetime. The government are trying to double down on the fact that there's a huge black hole in the British economy, yet they're willing to spend £1.8 billion and £600 million a year running a system which no one asked for, no one voted for, a system in which presents a national security risk for the country, and a system in which we all have our concerns about. Even people that are for it have agreed the concerns are very, very, very valid. Now, this video, for my intents and purposes, has no point to it. I have no resolution at the end of this video. I'm just genuinely frustrated, and I think my feelings on this probably resonate with a lot of you guys as well. I've had a lot of conversations with you guys about your thoughts on digital ID and the way that the country is kind of rolling out legislation after legislation while saying that we have no money, and then announcing projects that are going to cost a significant amount of money to the British taxpayer. Apparently it's not going to cost the British taxpayer. Sure, we've heard that one before. Anyway, check out private internet access at the link down below. I'm just frustrated with all of this. The British government, it's like banging your head against a brick wall sometimes, trying to understand how they can say how much debt we're in as a society, yet they're introducing legislation that's going to cost the country money that no one wants. I'll see you all in the next one.